Welcome back everyone to an ongoing review of The Legend of Zagor board game. And before we begin, I'd just like to point out a slight discrepancy in my previous video where I was setting up the board. What I did wrong was that I placed all the tiles randomly throughout the dungeon, whatever way I liked, which is not how you're supposed to do it. I went through the rules again this morning, and you're supposed to place all the gray tiles randomly. Of course, you're supposed to place all the gray tiles randomly in the level 1 dungeon. All the brown tiles go in the level 2 dungeon, and whatever's left, which should be the green tiles, go into Zagor's crypt. And you can see I also attached a little throne over there. For some reason, the throne is a little too small for Zagor to fit in. So I'm just gonna place him right around here so that we can see Zagor waiting for us. So yeah, before we begin, I'd just like to add another thing. In the previous video, we started off with the warrior and we were playing solo. In this part, I'm gonna add another character in there, which is the dwarf, and his character sheet's right there. And I'm gonna pretend that these are two players playing the game, and I'm gonna try to keep their personalities as distinct as possible, so it actually feels like an actual game going on. So before we start, you can see the character sheet. All the players, each player gets 20 gold coins each. And they get to put it in their little pouch section over there. You can see in the top right corner there's a pouch made over there, and all the gold coins are placed over there. And just like in the previous video, we've got the strength here and stamina over there. And each player starts with full stamina, which is basically your health, and you start with 1 strength. So the combat system is also dependent upon that, so we'll see how that works out once we start the game. So before the game starts, each player has the option to buy items and equipment and weapons and stuff like that before they can venture off into the dungeon. Of course, it's completely optional. A player could choose to not buy anything in the beginning and work his way up in the game, or a player may just try to buy everything right in the beginning. But then the drawback for that would be that he won't have any gold left, and in case he needs to get out of a tight situation by bribing a monster or whatever, because there's certain situations where you have to pay gold to be able to get out of certain dangerous situations, and if he doesn't have any gold, then he'll have to basically die. So let's begin the game. For that, we're gonna start the game. We've got the batteries in there already, so let's begin. So we wait for him to shut up, basically. Now we are gonna select warrior, and we're gonna select the dwarf. So now we've got 2 players in the game. We wait for Zagor to start the game. So he just randomly picked a player to go first, which is the warrior. So the warrior basically starts. By the way, both the players just get to pick up the tile to start off on right in the beginning, even before the game starts. So as you can see, the warrior's tile turns up, and he's got a water bottle, which means he gains 1 stamina. I'm sorry, the focus is a little off on this camera, but this is basically a water bottle, and it says gain 1 stamina. But since we're right at the beginning of the game and all of them have maximum stamina, this is kind of redundant. This is kind of useless. So we're just gonna discard this tile. We're gonna place it somewhere where it doesn't bother our gameplay, and then we're also going to flip over the tile that the dwarf started on to see what comes up for him. And he's got a little helmet, and the helmet goes here, which gives him plus one strength. I'm going to place the dwarf back in his initial position, and he's got the helmet now, which gives him plus 1 strength. So we're going to move his little strength token to 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2, so he's got 2 strength now. So basically the way combat works in this game is you're supposed to increase your strength as much as you can so that you have a better chance of surviving battles with different monsters and player characters. So now that we've initiated the game, we're gonna, since Zagor chose for the warrior to go first, warriors move. We're gonna move. For instance, let's just say he just randomly moves 2 steps ahead. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna move towards the player character so that I can show you another little cool thing, a little PvP action. So yeah, player versus player action. I'm gonna move him 2 tiles down there. I'm gonna pick this one up, and he's got. It says take 3 gold coin. He found a leather pouch with 3 gold coins in him. So Quite lucky for the warrior, he gets money right in the beginning of the game. So I'm gonna just take out 3 gold coins from the stockpile. That's 1. I need number 3. So let's see. 5, 10. Sorry, it's taken a while. It's just, I'm just gonna keep it up here. You know what? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so he's got 3 gold coin. He's just found 3 gold coin. The 3 gold coins go here in his pouch, and his turn has ended. Now it's the dwarf's turn. So now let's just say the dwarf also wants to move in for an attack to the enemy player. And he picks up his tile where he landed. And what does it say? It says trap door, secret passage. It's like a secret passage. Go to any other secret passage. So this here is the secret passage. You flip it over and you place it back onto the square that you found it from. And if there's any other secret passage that reveals itself, you can make shortcuts from the 2 secret passages. For example, you can go through this passage here and come out from another passage. That's how it works, basically. Okay, now we've got the 2 players together. So what the warrior wants to do, it's warrior's turn, of course. The warrior, and another thing I forgot, by the way, guys. Both of these players start off with 1 magic card. Okay? And you're not supposed to show this card to the other players because you have to strategize and you have to really give them the element of surprise here. So, let's just say the warrior got this magic card and it says teleport. It says you may play this card on your turn instead of moving. It allows you to move then to any space on the same level. So basically teleport, whenever you want to use this, you can use this and just move anywhere onto the board. So this goes to the warrior. The warrior has the teleport card. In fact, I'm going to keep it right in the center over here so that you can also see his little character profile there. There we go, and we got another magic card for the dwarf, and let's see what he got. He got himself a mind blank power, which is basically, according to the description, it says you may play this card on your turn. It allows you to stop another player from using spell cards for his next 2 turns. So this is very useful, very powerful here. You can actually stop another player from using magic for the next 2 turns. So both of them have their cards. Remember, I've got them facing. I don't have them facing downwards like that because just for the sake of us being able to see what magic powers they have. But if this was an actual game and these were 2 actual players, they would never show each other their magic cards because that's part of the game. So let's move on. And yeah, before we start, in the beginning of the game, none of the players can carry more than 1 magic card. And if you want to carry more magic cards, you have to get a magic ring, which lets you carry 2 more magic cards, totaling 3. So yeah, let's go ahead, and now let's just say the dwarf wants to move in to attack the enemy player. He goes to this tile, and let me just pick this up. Let's see what he got. Oh cool, he got a genie, and genie's gonna grant you a wish. And you can take any piece of armor from the stockpile. Discard this tile over here. The dwarf gets to pick up any piece of armor. So I'm gonna go into my little items bag over here, and I'm just gonna pick up a random item out of there. I can see an armor from right here, so I'll just grab that. He's got an armor now. The dwarf's already doing pretty good. You can see he's got an armor and a helmet, and wait a sec. Oh yeah, chainmail. So the chainmail armor gives the dwarf +2 strength. So he's already got the helmet +1, and then the chainmail gives him +2. So that totals 4 strength. So he's got 4 strength now. And now you've got the warrior's turn. Well, wait, it's still the dwarf's turn because the dwarf can choose to attack the player or not. In order to attack a player character, you need to be on the adjacent square to the player, and then you have to call out whether you want to attack him or not. And since we're gonna attack the player just for the sake of showing you guys how PvP combat works in this game, I'm gonna pretend like the dwarf called out to attack the warrior player. So fighting commences. What basically happens is you've got these 2 character sheets, all right, and whoever calls to attack, he gets to attack first. So let's just say the dwarf wants to attack, and how this works is that you have to roll a number that is equal or higher to the strength of the character that you're attacking. For instance, the warrior doesn't have much strength. He's only got 1 strength, so you know he's not going to be doing too good. But in order to, if the warrior wants to attack the dwarf, he has to roll at least a 4 or higher. So let's begin. The dwarf attacks first, and this is how it's going to work. He rolls, dwarf rolls attack, and obviously he's going to always be higher than a 1, so he loses 1 stamina. First player to lose all his stamina basically loses, and he goes back to his starting position, losing all his treasure cards and stuff if he has any. So now it's the warrior's turn. Warrior rolls. Of course, it's more than a 4, so dwarf also loses his stamina. That's how it works. You keep rolling one by one, tallying whether the number you rolled is higher than the other player's stamina, and if it is, he loses 1 stamina point, and then you keep fighting over and over like that until one of the players loses all of his stamina points, and then that player is dead. He has to go back to his starting position, losing any treasure cards he has, or losing any piece of armor or equipment or something like that the winning player has demanded from him. And you can always sneak out of a battle, but then you have to give up something like a piece. Oh, randomized event.
From my creatures, coward. Lose 1 weapon.
Oh, well, that's okay because warrior doesn't have any weapon anyway. Basically what happens is that's a random event. Like I told you in the previous video, Zagor does random events in which you get punished or rewarded based on how you're playing the game. So let's just pretend that both of these just had a battle amongst each other and the warrior lost. He goes back to his starting position, but since he's got nothing to give away, it doesn't really matter, and he loses 1 turn, by the way. He has to skip a turn because he just lost there. So it's the dwarf's turn. The dwarf gets to move twice. So what he's going to do is he's going to move into this dungeon over here, take 2 steps into this dungeon, and he's going to fight this little monster over here. So in order to fight the level 1 monster, we're going to press the level 1 button right here. There we go.
Who dares to battle with me?
The dwarf.
Dwarf, prepare.
Now this is how it's going to work. Zagor's going to call out a random number for the monster. We're going to go to the dwarf sheet. Let's see what strength and stamina the monster has.
Prepare for battle. Something approaches.
Ooh.
Strength 2, stamina 1.
So it's kind of easy to beat. Okay, he goes first. The monster always goes first. So let's see if you can get a 4 or higher.
10.
Oh, that's a critical. That's a critical hit. And then I roll right in the middle. And I see, okay, there we go. He's got 1 stamina, he lost. I press the button again to end the combat. And since he beat the monster, I'm going to go to that room, see the monster. I'm going to topple him over like that, signifying that he's dead. And he gets 1 treasure card. Now, here's the thing. For each treasure card that you carry, Zagor over there loses 1 stamina point and 1 strength for each treasure card that you carry. So you need to have as many treasure cards as possible before you can go fight with Zagor, because you'll have a better chance of defeating him that way. But if you're stupid enough to just venture into Zagor's crypt without any treasure cards, you can do that as well, but you'll end up losing the battle. And a lot of equipment and stuff as well. Because losing to Zagor means that you have to discard all your treasure cards. So you really have to pick your battles in this game. You really have to think. You really have to know whether you're prepared to be able to face off against Zagor or not. So he just destroyed the monster over there, and remember, the warrior lost a fight with the dwarf, and his turn was skipped. So the dwarf gets to move again. So I'm just gonna move him to this tile over here and reveal what's underneath it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, let's see what's underneath it. Okay, he got himself an axe. So the dwarf is proving to be quite lucky in this game. He's got an axe that gives you +1 strength, so you can already see that the dwarf is progressing quite nicely here because he's getting lucky getting all the items from underneath his feet. So he's got 5 strength now. And now it's the warrior's turn, and we're going to hope that the warrior starts getting some equipment as well, but I think it would be best for the warrior to go to the merchant and buy some equipment so that he can pose some sort of a threat to the player character that just beat him. So there we go. Let's see what he got. Oh, that's not too good for him. It says guard, pay a gold coin or fight him. So that was a trap. And according to the sheet here, the guard needs to be put back into the position. Yeah, he goes back onto the board like that. And unfortunately, the warrior has to pay up 1 gold coin because I don't think he'll be able to survive against the guard. So he has to pay up 1 gold coin. Let's just look through his pouch, get a 2 gold coin token here. 2 gold token, and put it back into the bank and give him back his change. 1G. Put it back into the pouch. There we go. So the warrior isn't doing that well, but let's just see how it goes from here. Now the dwarf is pretty confident now because he's got a high number of strength, and his stamina is also pretty okay. He's just lost 1 stamina so far, so he's gonna venture into the other room to take down another monster to grab himself another treasure card. Crap. Hold on a second, everything's falling apart. Anyway, so yeah, he's in that other room and he gets to fight another level 1 monster. Level 1 battle commences again.
Who dares challenge me?
It's the warrior again. I mean the dwarf.
Wolf, prepare to die.
There we go. Let's see what kind of monster we're facing off this time.
Defend yourself. There is danger here. Strength 2. Stamina 1.
Okay, so he's not that difficult again. So let's see what number he calls out.
1.
So that's a 1. It's less than the strength we have, so it's a miss. We get to roll now. And that's a 10. Let's call that a 10. So the monster loses. We know the monster lost, so we end battle. There we go. And the dwarf gets another treasure card for defeating another monster. So topple him over. He's done. And give the dwarf his well-earned treasure card. So that's how the game goes, basically, guys. That's all you need to know about the game. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Got the magic cards. You can get a magic ring to get 2 more magic cards, and you can always replace your magic card with another magic card, infinitely, in fact. But you can only carry 1 magic card at a time without the magic ring, and you can only carry up to 2 more cards with a magic ring. You can carry